Imagine you are 30 years old, living in an Indian metro, and taking home exactly 1 lakh rupees every month. At this stage, societal expectations dictate a very specific financial checklist. You are expected to fund a wedding, plan for children, take annual vacations, buy a car, and secure a home. Cultural and familial pressure makes this sequence feel mandatory. In this playbook, property ownership serves as the definitive proof of professional success and personal stability. Attempting to finance all these milestones at once on a fixed salary creates a high-stakes puzzle where the numbers rarely add up. Elite wealth managers view the early purchase of a metro city home as a primary obstacle to wealth. On a 1 lakh salary, the mortgage often functions as a financial weight rather than an appreciating asset. This chart shows the immediate impact. A standard home loan swallows half of your take-home pay, leaving the remaining $50,000 to cover rent, utilities, and lifestyle. This debt load effectively ends your ability to save for any other major goal. This occurs because property prices in Tier 1 cities have completely decoupled from salary growth. While middle-class earnings remain linear, real estate costs have moved exponentially, pricing out the very people who work in these cities. When you commit to a mortgage under these conditions, you reach a mathematical ceiling that prevents you from ever achieving actual financial independence. Building wealth on a salary requires a subtraction strategy, the systematic removal of assets that fail to perform. Fixed deposits and bonds are the first to go. For goals more than a decade away, these instruments are tax inefficient and frequently lose value against the real rate of inflation. Professional wealth managers compare using debt for long-term savings to a slow-acting poison that erodes your purchasing power year after year. Speculative assets like crypto are also removed. Without a regulated underlying value or a clear cash flow mechanic, these function as high-risk gambling rather than a professional investment strategy. The noise is constant. High-profile political endorsements can make volatile digital coins look like a stable institutional choice, distracting retail investors from proven wealth-building vehicles. When billionaires speculate on digital assets, it creates a false sense of security for the average earner, leading to uncalculated risks that the salaried class cannot afford to take. If you cannot explain the mechanics of how an asset generates its return, owning it creates a vulnerability. For the disciplined investor, these must be subtracted. With the distractions removed, we focus on the 5 essential goals: marriage, education for your children, retirement, travel, and a car. In India, inflation consistently hovers near 10%. Planners account for this using the 7-year doubling rule. The cost of any major life event will double every 7 years. A 10 lakh expense today becomes 20 lakhs by the time your child reaches school. Applying this logic provides a realistic, inflation-adjusted target. It forces you to save for the actual price of the future, not the prices you see today. Once you account for the high taxes on FDs, the low rental yields of property, and the volatility of crypto, the equity mutual fund emerges as the most efficient growth engine for a salaried person. The strategy relies on 3 pillars: renting your primary residence, managing your lifestyle costs, and directing 30,000 rupees into a systematic investment plan, or SIP, every month. By spreading that 30% across flexi-cap and multi-cap funds, you capture the growth of the entire Indian economy without the concentrated risk of picking individual stocks. Discipline here means ignoring short-term performance. Eyeing last year's top-performing fund is a common mistake. Historical data shows that today's winners rarely maintain their lead in the following cycle. This 30% SIP, compounding at a historical average of 15%, provides the mathematical velocity required to reach your 7-year doubling targets. This path avoids the complex, high-fee products marketed to the ultra-wealthy. It relies instead on basic, transparent instruments that are accessible to anyone. The most successful investors in history operate on this principle. They prove that real wealth is built through long-term participation in the markets, rather than through rapid speculative moves. These same rules apply to the Indian markets. Consistent equity conviction has historically outperformed almost every other accessible asset class over a 10-year horizon. The difficulty here is social rather than financial. You will likely face criticism for renting an apartment while your peers take on heavy debt to buy property. This is the discipline tax. the social cost of ignoring the crowd while your wealth compounds quietly in the background. Wealth on a salary is the result of subtraction. By removing the pressure to own property early, you unlock your greatest asset, your surplus income. When you automate a 30,000 rupee investment and give it time to grow, the compounding math begins to work in your favor. On a 1 lakh salary, financial freedom comes from refusing to participate in traditional middle-class financial traps. Avoid those mistakes, and the growth takes care of itself.